What's good, everybody? It's your boy Mark Summers, Major Linux, MajorLinux.com, and I'm coming to you because I don't know, kind of had some things that I've wanted to say for quite some time. I know with 2020 coming to a close, wanted to wait till after Christmas because this wasn't a Christmas related thing. I didn't want to solely Christmas with anything that I necessarily wanted to say or talk about. Um, Given the massive shit show that's been 2020. I mean, we can. It's sad that you can point to a lot of things, and I don't know whether or not, like, the pandemic, the fact that a lot of things that have been going on in our lives personally have allowed us to be able to kind of sit down, kind of sit still for a few, kind of take stock of what's going on in our lives to kind of realize, there's a lot of fucking bad things that are happening. Um, to where we kind of notice there's so many bad things, or the fact that just because of the fact that so many people are at home doing the same thing, that the inevitable worst in people kind of came out almost instantaneous. Well, not instantaneously, it took a while, but it seemed to have kind of expedited this year because, again, people had nothing to do, nothing else better to do. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's been a weird year, to say the least. I'm like, obviously, I feel like I'm preaching to the choir. I'm like, it's just like, no shit. It's been a weird year. Um, but there have been some things that have been happening this year that I kind of want to talk about that, for the most part have, I wouldn't say rubbed me the wrong way, but it's a thing where I feel like I've been silent on these topics because of the fact that, I mean, at the time when they were happening, I had nothing really of import to contribute to it other than, hey, keep my head down and try to get through it. Shit's already bad in a certain spot. I should probably, for my own mental stability, try to focus on surviving, trying to make sure my family's surviving and making sure these other things were okay. There were people who were definitely, well versed in the topic, who knew more about it, who were speaking on things that, I couldn't say. I mean, there have been certain things where, yeah, I've come out in front of a camera and I've said a thing, but um, others I've kind of stayed silent on and just kind of kept moving. Um, Whether or not that was good or not, it maybe it remains to be seen. Maybe people have already passed judgment and have already cast me aside. I don't know. Um, but yeah, it's been a interesting year. It's been a bad year. There have also been some good things that have come from this, and I'm not gonna sit there and say that yes, 2020 has been all bad. It's not been all bad. Yes, it's been the worst year that I've experienced in my lifetime, that a lot of people have experienced in their lifetime. Um, but there have been some good things that have come personally from that, and I don't want to discredit those things. Um, One of which is actually, Tech Talk Thursdays. Again, shout out to KKS Gaming, Sinziak, Idiosananka, for helping me out with that this year. It's been an amazing year to actually kind of have that born out of, what became a shit show and actually still thrive outside of it. So thank you all for that. Extra Life. This is the second highest fundraising year for me on record. I have, as of right now, reached $10,000 raised for the entire 10 years I've been doing this. So that's average out to $1,000 a year for the past 10 years, raising funds for Duke Children's Hospital. So again, given the shit show that Extra Life has been this year, there's been some positives in that space as well. But I mentioned those two things specifically because of the fact that, yes, those two things, Extra Life and the Cookout, have been two fucking shit shows this entire fucking year. And seeing how certain individuals and how the organization itself is kind of thriving in midst of these shit shows, it baffles me. Um, so first I'm going to start off with the Cookout. For those who do not know, the Cookout was a content creator. It was it was a content creation community for people of color. Um, which I feel like was doing great things. And I'm sorry, I'm going to turn off things because God knows, right when I record, things decide they want to go off. It was a great place. Like the concept of it, like the idea of it was great. It was fantastic. I love being a part of it for, I mean, a lot of reasons. Like a lot of good things were happening. I was um networking. I was doing amazing things when it came to trying to start Major's House, trying to figure out like what that looked like going forward. But boy, that shit was fucking mismanaged as fuck. Not for a lack of trying, because there were a lot of people who were actually doing that work from the inside. A lot of good people doing amazing work, and I definitely want to shout out those people. Like we have Lila Lobina. Jeez, I know I'm mispronouncing it. Lila Lobina, if I'm not mistaken. Like the name is there in my head, but I can barely kind of put it together. Idio Sanaka again, Tim Tristelia, Pleasantly Twisted, TJ, the Droid, and even I was there. But hey, I did my thing out in the corner and wasn't really doing anything public facing. But yeah, they were amazing people who were doing dope things within like the admin spaces of the community. The mods were amazing, but they're two, like it only takes two people to really sit there and throw a fucking wrench into a fucking plan. And it is sad to see when your pride gets in the way of what can ultimately be the most amazing thing. To see how that community just crumbled to fucking pieces because people didn't know when to shut up when it was time to shut up. Nobody knew to listen when it was time to listen. When things were coming out against certain allegations within that community, like realizing that I wasn't told, and then also realize that, wait a second, the responsibilities that you've placed on me, I was not really told like that. And then was not told, but then was expecting to see, yeah, no, y'all put me in a bad spot. So, deuces. And definitely for those women who have been put in those very bad positions because of that organization, like I definitely feel sorry. I am so incredibly sorry that you've had to go through that. Like, had no clue up until that one Twitch stream and all that shit came out. I was like, oh no, this is bad. Oh yeah, I definitely do not want to be here anymore. I did not know. I am so sorry. And then as more and more people were leaving and sitting there watching it from the outside and just watching just kind of how this thing just imploded, like it just collapsed upon itself. And so many good people were lost in that shuffle. And it was horrible to see. And I hate to see it. You hate to see it. But even after the fact, how these people are fucking like flourishing. You got people who are, being featured in places, being put in like in the names of multiple companies, almost as if like nothing happened. Like out here living your best life, like you just didn't destroy an organization because the fact that, I said what I said. Or the fact that, you're out there, you're playing the victim saying you've done this, you've done that, you've done this, you've done that. And did not mention at all any of the people who helped build that shit from the ground up, who rebuilt shit. And again, yeah, I'm talking about me, but there are a lot of people who did far more than I did who did not get that recognition. And was like working up until the whole system collapsed. It was horrible to see. at the time when it was happening, and then kind of at the end, and it's like nobody got the flowers, nobody got the recognition. It's like, man, people love to kick a dog when it's down, but well, I mean, you weren't supporting people when everything was up. So, and then when it went down, it's not like, hey, these people did amazing work. You should definitely go check them out individually. Um, and it really sucked to see that. And like to this day, when I see these people like being retweeted, it's like, like give them the flower. Like, no, fuck that. Fuck them. Cause they did a whole community dirty, and they did me dirty personally. Yeah, like fuck that. Um, but again, like the one good thing that did come out of that was Tech Talk Thursdays. And again, just working with again Sin, Kev, and Anka, it's been the best. It's been the best. Like, again, like I can sit here and just sit there and say, oh, like so much of the negative that came out of the cookout, but to have this one thing that was my baby that I was able to save and was able to retool with these amazing people who stuck with me after all that happened and helped me um, restart it all outside. It makes me feel good. It makes me, it gives me that one piece of happiness out of the wreckage that was the cookout.